Hey, Patriots, welcome to Radio Free America with Bill Parsons and Bill Mason. It is May the 24th,
24th.
24th, Saturday, 2025. As of course, there's always a lot going on in the news and in the world. The news cycle is so fast anymore. So, Bill, I'll let you start off. And I know there's several things you wanted to talk about, and then we'll kind of go from there.
Hey, before we get started, I want everybody to remember why we have this long weekend. It's not for us to go to the beach, pool, have barbecues, have family get-togethers. It's to remember the very people, men, women, and animals that gave their lives so you and I can be on here and complain about and bring up stuff. And we have the political discourse that we have, and we're free to do that. And
it's not Veterans Day; it's Memorial Day.
It's Memorial Day.
It's for the fallen.
Yeah, and it's not Happy Memorial Day.
Right. You know, I mean, it's like wishing somebody a happy funeral.
Yeah. Right? So, and the other thing is, you know, when you see a military person, you do a little more than say thank you for your service. Do you know how many times they hear that?
Right. I know it becomes trite.
You know, thank you for your sacrifice. Thank you for your family supporting you. How are you doing? Is there anything I can do to help you? Can I give you a hug? I deal with veterans a lot. And I hear a lot, and the thing that they get tired, they get to the point like, yeah, right, sure.
Right. So, it's just, it becomes something they hear all the time. So it loses its impact.
Yeah. My thing was, and I try to tell people, when you see a veteran, do more than just thank them. You know, you don't have to buy them a cup of coffee or their meal. Just go up to them and say, hey, I want to give you a hug. Thank you. You know, a lot of these guys, and I have some that I'm dealing with right now, and they're like one hairline away from pulling the trigger or taking pills.
Oh yeah,
you know, they have not, and I've not asked them to share anything with me, but when they call, I just listen and just say, hey man, I'm with you, I support you, I love you. You know, my family loves you. And then I'll say something cute like my cat loves you. The guy I do the podcast with you, his dog loves you. Something to break it up, to break up. But we have no clue. We cannot fathom what these people have seen and gone through. I mean, myself personally, I consider myself a pretty mentally strong person. And I know you're more mentally strong than I am because you've been a cop and you've seen a heck of a lot more than I
don't know about that.
But I don't. So anyway, but I just wanted to bring that up before we get started.
Yeah, I was on a personal note. I had breakfast Friday with one of my friends I've known for a long time. He taught for me at the police academy, Butch, and he wears a coat that says U.S. Marine Corps on it, and he has a hat he had specially made because he was a gunner on a helicopter. That's what he did. And so we were at Cracker Barrel, and he must have. I mean, we probably got stopped 2 or 3 times, just, you know, standing at the thing, waiting to be seated. And when we were seated, people came up and said stuff to him as I was paying the bill to leave. I mean, we ended up in not just, you know, thanks for your service, but long conversations about what years did you serve? And he was there 67 to 68 during the Tet Offensive and that kind of thing. And so, I mean, yeah, these people talked for a long time with him about their experience and, you know, family members that were in the military with them. And some of them themselves had been in the military. And one of the guys was a naval corpsman. And I didn't realize, Bush was telling me this, the Navy corpsmen were the medics that would take care of the Marines that had fallen, you know, were injured on the battlefield or whatever. And so he said, man, he said it was a really kind of unique, and the guy was there in Vietnam the same year as Butch was there. So he said, you know, it's very possible we ran across each other, you know. So but I think there, you know, it does tend to be a group of people of a particular age that do this, you know, 40s and up tend to be.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I agree with you. I'm sure they, you know, you hear something enough times, because as a policeman, I heard it last night. Yeah, thanks for your service. And you're like, you know, you don't know necessarily what to respond to that. And then you hear it so much, it does become something you think people just kind of blurt out and they don't really mean or whatever. But
and the people that are listening, sometimes just letting them guys talk and tell you about when they served and stuff, that's therapy. That's that's therapy for them.
Yeah.
If you've noticed, when you talk to a person that's had a surgery or a major illness, or they've had somebody close to them die, they want to talk about it.
Oh yes, yeah, I can attest to that. Just my recent experience.
And it's a positive and good thing, but let them talk. Let them talk. Don't look at your watch and sigh and sway back and forth and say, well, I've got to go. Let them talk. It's the little things.
Oh, sure.
Well,
That's an active listening or engaged listening. That it is subtle little things like checking your watch or sighing or rolling your eyes or not making eye contact, and
yeah.
that let people know, okay, I'm pretending to listen, not
Yeah.
really listening. Sure.
So what I wanted to get into, and I know I'm not going to get on here today. We had the big beautiful bill pass the House. It probably won't pass the Senate. And just real quick, if they tweak it much in the Senate, it goes back to the House.
Right. Sure.
Through,
This is kind of almost like starting over again.
So the whole ball. So I'm not going to waste a lot of time. But what I wanted to talk about is what is going on in our culture and all the uptick in political violence that we're seeing. And we can sit here and say, oh, it happens on both sides, but I don't know. It happens on one side of
Yeah, see, I just
spectrum.
don't agree. I don't agree with
Yeah.
that sentiment. I don't.
You know.
Show me the Republican politician who gets up
Yep.
there and says, we're going to take it to the streets. Show me the Republican politician who stands in front of the Supreme Court like Chuck Schumer did and says that Kavanaugh and Gorsuch will reap the whirlwind. Right?
Yeah,
that's a threat.
The Republicans, I haven't heard anybody call the Democrats Stalin, Hitler, communists, Nazis.
That's
fascist,
their favorite.
Threat to democracy, racist. I haven't heard any of that come from.
Yeah, so because we don't behave that way. So if I was ever on a major talk show, right, and they said that kind of nonsense to me, I would stop the interview right there and say, "Give me an example," because I don't accept that premise. Eric Swalwell just recently was on television talking about we're going to get worse and we're taking it to the streets and we have to crank it up another notch. You got Tim Walz out there, the idiot who is going to be the vice president, saying stupid stuff like that. You've got Hakeem Jeffries basically saying, if you try to jail one of our members, even though they commit crime, right now, we were told for 4 years that no one is above the law. But now, because Democrats are committing crime, well, the law doesn't apply to them. And how dare you try to touch or arrest or indict them? And if you do, you'll see what happens. Those are all veiled. Those are all threats.
Yeah.
And they're not even veiled.
It goes on and on and on. Elaine Omar, AOC. I mean, the bald-headed Congress lady, I can't think of her name.
Presley.
The other one that is out of there that's a big Palestinian backer. Never has anything positive to say when they open their mouths. It's all negativity. It's all hatred rhetoric.
Oh, sure.
And you get some of these, and what do we have? We've had 2 assassination attempts. We are now getting, because we're saying that they're committing a genocide in Gaza.
South Africa. The Israelis, in South.
Yeah, so now we've got crazy people out there just randomly shooting. We've got college kids on campuses supporting terrorists.
Sure.
And we have college administrators allowing it and probably support it.
Oh, support and condone it. Yeah, and see, this is the point. The words coming out of, even though these people are idiots, Eric Swalwell's a moron, right? AOC's a moron. I don't know if you've seen the tweet that says, "I'm not a moron. I've never even been to Utah, and I don't belong to that church," right?
Yeah.
But when even though they are idiots, right, and vacuous, their words have impact on other people and radicalize them. And when they say these things, they're essentially giving marching orders to the violent wing of their party. Go out and commit an assassination. Go do street violence. Go out and do these things. But we never hold them accountable for it. We never held Bernie Sanders accountable for the assassination that his follower did, right? We don't ever hold them accountable for anything.
That was on Scalise. That was what they were. The Republicans were having a practice for the Democrat Republican ball game that they have every year that raises money, and it's kind of a fun event. Both sides get together. They play baseball.
Right.
They had a whacked out guy show up there with a rifle, and fortunately, there happened to just be 2 cops that were there. Or it
would have been way worse than it was.
Oh, it would have been way worse than that. It darn near killed Scalise. And this guy, and of course, you never heard about in the press, but this guy was a big time Sanders promoter. And people like that, they listen to all this rhetoric.
Right.
And,
So I mean,
here's the thing, Bill. You were a police officer. When you asked somebody to do something, it meant something.
right,
I'm a banker. When I tell my clients that I need something or do something, when I say something, it means something.
right. It has
When
weight.
you are an elected official and you're saying stuff like that, it means something.
Right. Your words matter, and that's why
Yes.
they need to be chosen carefully. But the Democrats, they do choose their words carefully, but they're all designed
Uh-huh.
to essentially send a message to their radical followers: go out and do something. Right. Take it
Yep.
to. I mean, Maxine Waters, back when Trump on the first
Yeah.
term of Trump
Uh-huh.
stood there and said, "Get in their face. Don't let them be comfortable. Force them out of restaurants." That there should be some accountability for those words. That is not the behavior an elected official should engage in, the
Yep.
language they should be using. But the Democrats have gotten away with it forever. And they want to call us the Nazis. They want to call conservatives and Republicans the Nazis when we're not the ones engaging in violence and genocide and assassination and condoning those things, literally excusing them
Yeah.
in many ways. And so at some point, you know, this we're going to have to hold. It's not just the shooter or the person who committed the violence we hold accountable. The people who radicalized them and basically made them operational. Those we have to hold them accountable. But we never do. I mean that congresswoman from New Jersey, she assaulted a federal officer. That's a felony. That's a crime. While trespassing and breaking into a detention center, holding some of the most risky detainees. And I haven't seen her mugshot yet. I haven't
Nope.
seen her walked off in handcuffs. Right
Nope.
now, they'd have done that to anybody else. If you and I had done those things, we would be in jail, still be in jail, would probably never see the light of day, and would certainly be convicted.
Yep.
And she can just get, and on top of doing of committing the violence, she was threatening violence. I'll touch anybody I want, screaming and cussing, just typical Democrat behavior. At
And
what
and
point?
the and the thing about that is you see the two tiers actively here.
Oh,
So
justice.
every time they get backed in a corner, it's January 6th, January 6th, January 6th. And the
Sure.
media carries the water for that. They're finding out more and more information. It was
Oh,
staged, it was
that was
incited.
absolutely staged. That was a
Yeah,
black flag
and
operation.
and they say, oh, there was policemen killed. No, there wasn't. The only
No,
person
no.
killed was a person that was there.
Ashley Babbitt.
Yeah, and by the way, they just settled with her family for 5.4 million.
Is that because I saw the other day that I guess the attorney that the family had originally retained was trying to get a share of the money, even though he's not the attorney who got
Yeah,
cut
yeah,
the
what
deal.
a, yeah,
I mean, what a douchebag,
typical.
right? I mean,
Yeah,
he had bailed, but now he wants his cut. Because
yeah,
I know the original settlement was like $30 million, right, or something.
yeah, yeah. They ended up with 5.4 million.
Okay, so that settlement
Yeah,
tells you the government knows it was wrong.
yep.
And Michael Byrd not only is still with the Capitol Police, he's been promoted and
Oh, he's a hero.
right
He's a hero.
and given the highest award that the president can give a civilian, essentially.
Yeah. Yep. And
He
so
should be in prison.
these two kids, I call them kids, but they were young people. They were going to get engaged next week. Two Jewish people. They were at an event for support of Gaza,
Right.
and this whacked out guy, he said he did it for Palestine and Gaza. So killing two human beings furthers that cause. I mean, but we have we have colleges, universities, Harvard, Cornell, Columbia, Berkeley. There's several others that I'm missing right now that
Oh, sure.
the students come out and they protest. So the administration wants to come in there and look at their student visas and get them out of here. Lawsuit, lawsuit, lawsuit,
Right. And
lawsuit.
you're always going to find a democratically appointed, sympathetic judge to create a stay of some kind. And I want to go back to the assassin who murdered those two Jewish kids on the street in D.C. Um, we were just looking through the news feed the other day, and do you realize his father
Yeah,
was a guest of the
yeah,
Democrats
yeah,
at Trump's State of the Union speech.
yeah.
Now, you cannot tell me that's coincidence. I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
I
There's too
shared that
many.
article. I shared that article with you, and I said you can't make this stuff up.
Right.
It- uh,
I mean, so that's no way that's coincidence. You know,
nope. Well,
I mean,
and it goes back, it goes back to, and I read a nice op-ed. I won't share who the article who wrote it because but anyway, it was like Congress needs to start doing their damn job.
well,
So we had Antifa has yet to be designated a
a
terrorist.
terrorist organization.
They have yet to be that. We have other ones out there. We have people
Well,
that need to be.
come on, BLM is a terrorist organization.
Yeah, yeah,
It needs to be. It needs to be. It needs to be listed as.
well, and not only that, there was a ton of embezzlement, but we don't hear anything about that. So that kind of goes into what we were talking about. There's no accountability on the left, and the right allows it. Uh,
Well,
I look at some of the laws that have been passed, and I'm guilty of it. I'm like, oh, the liberals did this and that, but the Republicans allowed it.
right. They don't stand up against it. They don't fight against it. They don't. They do nothing. They just stand by.
Yeah, look
and
at
let
what they
them do
did.
it.
Look at what they did trying to fight this bill that they're trying to run through. We had press conference. We had this, that, constant from the left. And they got some stuff they wanted.
Oh, sure they did.
And then,
Well,
and then
I mean, we had Rhino Republicans arguing to keep Green New Deal policies in the bill.
and still tax Social Security, but give them a tax credit.
Yeah.
But anyway, I don't want to digress from that too much because then it becomes like
No, but I mean, it really does. Here's everything we're talking about. And sort of the theme of today's show is how violent our society has become. I mean, it seems like almost everyone that you deal with is ready to jump to a 4-letter word and jump in your face about anything, even when they know they're blatantly wrong.
Oh, go to the grocery store. And I was talking to a friend of mine the other day, going down the grocery lane. Okay, in the aisles. There was 2 people there, and this person pushing the cart was of color. And she's telling me, well, she's of a descent that she is of color, but she's not African American. Okay, she's going down this aisleway, and there is 2 African American people there, and she says, "Excuse me," and these people go, "Oh, white privilege." This is how indoctrinated that we have got people divided, and it's on. I just, and I'm not picking on that particular in that instance, but it's a mindset that has been preached. We have a whole generation of people out there that are victims. They think they're victims.
Yeah. And what they don't realize is when you think of yourself as a victim, you have just crippled yourself from growth, from holding yourself accountable, from doing anything of any account, because you can always make an excuse for why you can't. I'm being held back by the system. I'm being held back by the man. I'm a victim of something. I've been oppressed, right? So you don't understand. I can't.
Yeah.
And that mindset, not only is it dangerous for everybody else, it's incredibly unhealthy for the person.
Yeah, and the people that's in your sphere of influence. It's
absolutely.
Too. I had a person the other day tell me that Trump has taken away women's rights, and I'm like, well, what rights has he taken away?
Give me an example.
Well, there's just so many of them, I can't name them. I said,
well, just give me one. One.
I said, if there's so many of them, you should be able to at least name one. Well, you're just an asshole, and I don't have time to talk to you, and you run into that a lot. I had a situation, just how narcissistic and self-centered that a lot of people are. I'm going through the line at Walmart to self-checkout. There's a lot of people behind me. A lady behind me comes walking up, a cart on the phone, yapping, butts in front of everybody, goes to the open thing and turns around and is like daring anybody to say a word to her. So she's got a grocery cart full there. All the self-checkout things are full, and she's holding a phone conversation, not doing nothing. One of the workers walked up to her, and then she lit into the worker. I'm having a private conversation. Can't you see him? Blah, blah, blah. Loud, obnoxious.
Then step aside and do that while we let other customers.
Yeah.
See, but these companies do not empower their employees. I mean, anymore, you hear about if an employee tries to stop a shoplifter, they fire the employee.
Oh, there's been case after case of that. Was it like Home Depot or something here a couple of years ago? That was an elderly lady. that stopped. I mean, she's a senior citizen, and people at a certain age have a it's right or it's wrong. You pay for that or you don't, and if you don't pay for it, you need to bring it back in here, and we're going to call the cops. Remember, they fired her,
Oh
and
yeah,
there was such an outrage they hired her back.
right, but that's become a normal state. I mean, if you, anybody who works in retail, if the company doesn't, if the company's okay with them stealing their property, you should be too. Hey,
It was.
If you don't care, I don't care.
I forget how many billions of dollars that J.C. Penney loses a year to shoplifting.
They all do. They all do. All those
it
names
was,
change. Macy's, you name it.
it was a giant enormous amount, and ultimately we end up paying for it. But we
Well,
have people,
sure.
but we have people in Congress saying, "Oh, they'll get reimbursed from their insurance company." See, that's where the whole problem is. Is we elect people that aren't accountable, we elect people that are ignorant.
Yes, that's the big one. That's the big one.
Yeah, that if you have never been in business and you've never run a business and you don't know all the regulations and the permits and the insurances and everything else that you have to spend time doing, but you're in a position where you're going to dictate.
Well, you get to create rules that I have to follow.
Yeah, so that would be like me. I have no idea what you did as a police officer, but that would be like me coming in and being head of the police department and giving rules and regulations on what to do, and I have never done it in my life.
But and we basically had those kind. We had these citizen review boards. So we have citizens who have never done what we do, have no understanding of what we do, impacting policy and discipline and the way the police department runs, and that's insanity. I have no problem with sitting down and listening to their ideas or what you would like to see the police department doing, or why do you do things this way, but actually having the authority to create policy and procedure on something you do not understand, that's insanity. But that's exactly where we're at, because like you said, you've got Congress people saying, literally saying that looting is okay because it's reparations, right, for damages done for systemic racism, which nobody can define, nobody can point out, right? And or saying that, well, they're stealing so they can feed their family. Then why are they stealing Nikes and not bread?
Big screen TVs and
yes.
And yeah. Well, it goes back to is we have, and this contributes to the violence that goes on in our society. I mean, I see video after video after video of people just coming into a grocery store, taking stuff, and the people are watching because they have been told, don't confront these people, and it's a two-edged sword for the employer. So here's the flip side of it. So you confront this person and somebody gets killed or somebody gets hurt. Now you got all kinds of lawsuits because all the laws that are passed in this country are passed by lawyers who always end up getting to be elected into Congress.
Right. And they're looking for deep pockets to get money.
Yeah. So they file, so it happens to Walmart or it happens to Walgreens or it happens someplace.
It's here's what amazes me. Okay. And it's still this way in the state of Ohio. If you commit a theft offense, okay, say you steal some clothing, I don't care what it is, it's a misdemeanor unless it's over a certain dollar amount, okay, and the dollar amount keeps going up. But you commit a theft offense, and in the process of committing that theft offense, a loss prevention person or an employee or a citizen steps in the way to stop you, and you use force or the threat of force to commit the theft and escape, that changes the theft into a robbery. Okay, it becomes a felony or an aggravated felony. I don't know if we're doing that anymore. So they steal something, and they grab the Nikes, and as they're going out the door, LP stops them, they swing on them, they punch them, they end up on the ground wrestling. That just went from a misdemeanor to a felony because they use force or the threat of force to commit a theft offense. That's a robbery. And I don't know if they're not charging these people with this, or it's getting to the prosecutorial level, and these left-leaning George Soros prosecutors are just dropping the charges altogether or reducing them back down to the misdemeanors.
That's where the problem is. When you have no bail, no cash bail.
Well, right. So you commit the crime, and it's a revolving door, almost quite literally. Before the policeman's finished the paperwork to do the report, the criminal is already back out recommitting crime again.
Yeah. So you have the left that says, oh, it's unfair because if you're poor, you're going to be held in jail. And if you're rich, well, you know what? It's don't commit the crime. I mean, it's as simple as that.
Right. It's like the old Beretta song. If you can't do the time, don't commit the crime.
Yeah,
right?
that's what gets lost, and they tug it, and they bring out these people that the sob stories, and I don't buy it.
No,
My thing is,
why are
you even before a judge needing bail? Because you've committed a crime.
Right, and there are bondsmen. You can go to a bail and get a bond, right?
Yep.
So there's a system in place where you can get out, but somebody's got to put up their valuable assets, right, for you. And this guy's already a dirtbag committing crime. Why would I put up one of my car, my home, because they're going to abscond.
Yep.
They're not going to show up.
Yep.
This goes right back to accountability again, right? We don't hold anybody accountable from the top to the bottom virtually, except for a handful of people we want to try to hold accountable. And they tend to always be conservative, Christian, or Republican. Yeah. Everybody else gets a pass.
Yep. Yeah, you can burn a city down, you can loot a city, you can stab somebody in the heart. Oh, I'm sure there's going to be a GoFundMe for the guy that shot the two.
The Israelis, yeah, I'm sure. Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me at all, right? Because the left, see, and this goes right back to we're back to the left again. Not only do they, through their actions and words, promote and radicalize their followers, they then celebrate them, right? They condone it. So listen, hey, go out and commit violence in our name, and we'll bail you out. We'll buy you a new Cadillac S. Yeah, we're going to make you famous. We're going to buy you a new Cadillac Escalade and give you a brand new home. And you can start printing up T-shirts, and you can become a little cottage industry. We celebrate murder and death in this culture. And I think it all comes back. I don't know about most people, but me, I have very little faith and trust in any of our systems anymore. None of them. And, the last vestige for me was the courts. Okay, you're wrongfully accused, or somebody trumps up evidence or whatever. You could go to a court and an impartial judge or jury, and you would get a fair hearing.
Yeah.
Now that's not the case.
It was in your face, and it continues to be a double standard. And I sound like a broken record, but it goes back to Congress. Congress writes the rules, they write the laws, and nobody does anything. And we're going to see a prime example of what goes on in the Senate. And and there's so many lies out there about what is in that bill, but I didn't see any of the Republicans coming out. I had the Republicans coming out complaining about it, but I didn't have any of the Republicans coming out and saying they're not cutting Medicare, Medicaid, they're not cutting Social Security. Right. The FAA people that they let go had nothing to do with air traffic control.
It's just a whole litany of things.
Yeah, but it was all lies.
Trump.
It was all lies, and I just shake my head. I'm just like, we have got, Bill. I love history. I read history a lot. Every night when I go to bed, I read history. I read current events. I read books. I try to stay in tune. I try to be fair and balanced on my stuff. I'll read publications from other countries just to get a flavor. I read publications from South America. I read publications from the Middle East.
Right, so you get a well-rounded.
Yeah, I try to get an opinion because, no matter what, if I wrote an article, I would try to be fair and balanced, but there's going to be a little bit of bias in there.
Well, right, you can't keep it out.
But it's human nature. But when I read this stuff, it's so. It just, and then I look at what the American press does, and I don't care what the conservatives do. Conservatives could come out and find the cure for cancer, give everybody $1 million. We could have an unbelievable economy, and you're going to have those people on the left. It's no longer being a statesman; it's being a interference person.
Sure,
it is, and both sides do it, but more so on the left. It's unbelievable. You could go back in the history of this country, before the Clinton years, especially, even during the Reagan years, it was never anonymous, one party against the other. You always had some on the Democrat or Republican that would vote against their party. Not that way now. Republicans will vote against their party,
but not the Democrats will never.
It's whatever they can do to obstruct. So So the other day I was having a conversation with an individual, and he's like, thinks like we do. So I said, if you're a Republican, what do you stand for? And he says, well, I don't stand for what the Republican Party does, but I stand for conservative fiscal policy, constitutionalist, fair law,
Yeah, right.
and an open market.
Right. See, I want a closed border. I want a balanced budget. I want the government to run on the money it's got. So a balanced budget, a closed border, a border that's under control, with only legal immigration going on, safe cities and streets. I want crime under control. I want a fair and balanced justice system.
Yeah.
Right.
So if you're on the other side, what do they stand for?
All the opposite of everything we just said.
Well, I did not know this. This number is going to be off a little bit, but there are 400,000 black babies aborted every year.
Oh, yeah.
I watched a video the other day, and it was so bad I had to turn it off. They had a group of women, and they were bragging about the number of abortions, and it says something about something and not judged. And I'm just like, one lady said she had 8 abortions. So it has nothing to do with, the health of the mom. It has everything to do with just birth.
Well, it's convenience, right? And some of them are proud. They're proud of the number of human beings they've murdered.
It was just, I had turned off because it was very disturbing that we have people that are sitting in a group, and there's like, 10, 15 of them, and they would say this chant after they did it. Not my business. And I can't remember what the chant was, but I'm just like, and they're smiling. Yeah, I aborted 4 this year. One lady, I aborted 7. I aborted 6, and I'm like,
wouldn't it be easier to take? Wouldn't it be easier to take medicine or use? It's evil.
Yeah.
And this, I think, really what we come back to at the end of this is it's no longer Republican versus Democrat. I think it's the people versus the uniparty. And at the base of it, it's good versus evil, really.
It does boil down to good versus evil. You study all the civilizations down through history, and most of them are destroyed from within.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you look at the Etruscans, the Romans, the Greeks. Just throughout time, right? And it follows a pretty consistent pattern. Right. And we are probably, and this is disturbing to me, but we're probably in phase 7 of 7 phases.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the final phase is when there's a complete and utter lack of trust in anything, each other, the government, the system, the currency, all of it. When you just don't trust anything, what's left but chaos? It just becomes anarchy. Because think about it, if you extrapolate it out, if I truly believe in my heart of hearts that I'm not going to get a fair trial, I'm being persecuted, I'm being hunted for a political reason, and I'm going to go, if I go in front of a judge or a jury, it's not going to be impartial. The decision's already preordained. I'm going to be imprisoned or executed or whatever. Why would I ever succumb to that system? I'm not going to follow that. I'm going to become a rebel, right? You're not going to. So you take it to its final place, whether it's the Soviets and the KGB or the Nazis with the Gestapo, and you would end up in Germany. You'd end up in front of a judge called Roland Fraser, and you would end up in front of what was called the People's Court. Mm-hmm. And nobody came out of there. Nobody was found not guilty. It's almost like the Washington, D.C. court with the J6ers. Nobody got out alive. They all went to jail. A 99% conviction rate. That's unheard of.
Yeah. Statistically, that's impossible.
Right. And every law had been broken. The Constitution had been violated in every possible way. So when you get to the place where you think, I haven't done anything wrong, I'm following the laws and the rules as they're established, but now I'm the target of the FBI or the ATF or whatever. And if they do come to get me, and I allow them to take me, I'm going to end up in front of a judge or a jury that's not going to be fair. It's not going to be impartial, and I'm going to be imprisoned wrongfully. At what point do people say, I'm just not participating in that system anymore? And it just breaks down into violence and chaos. So when we lose trust in all of our systems, I mean, it falls apart fairly fast. And I think we're fairly close to that.
Yep. Well, we have, you're exactly right. We have a uniparty and we're seeing it rear its head.
Yeah.
The Republicans have a golden opportunity here and they're not doing anything with it. I think midterms is going to be a bloodbath.
Oh, I do too. The Republican Party is worthless. They're worthless.
Yeah. The Democratic Party will get back in there and by God, they'll go after things.
Oh, yes. I mean, even when they're not in power, because for them, what they believe is a religion. For the Republicans, all they are there to do, right? I heard this analogy the other day. I forget where I heard it, so I can't give props, but it's like it's like the Knights of the Round Table. The knight goes out to slay the dragon, and when he's got the dragon on the ground, ready to drive his sword through the heart of the dragon, he realizes, wait a minute, if I kill the dragon, I'm out of a job.
Mm-hmm.
So he becomes a member of the Dragon Protection Society.
Yeah. That's a good analogy. Good
I mean,
analogy.
I don't forget who said it, but that's exactly what it is. These Congress people are not there to do the job of the American people, to make our lives better, to make a safer and freer and better place. They're there to protect their careers, their pensions, their jobs, their power, right? That's what they're there for. That's why term limits we've got to have those. And they shouldn't be able to invest in anything. If they invest a nickel, they go to jail.
Yeah. Jasmine Crockett's now worth $29 million.
Yeah. And how?
Yeah.
She hasn't got enough brains to blow her nose.
AOC is, I think it's either 9 or 19.
Right. Came into DC so broke she couldn't pay her college loans.
Yeah. Couldn't afford the rent. She was complaining about that.
Right. Now, see, that immediately should trigger an investigation by the Federal Bureau of Investigation or whoever governs that body, right? Wait a minute. How did you become a millionaire in a couple of years, making $170,000 a year? How'd that happen?
Well, and then Doge wanted to do that. Said they were going to investigate every member of Congress. Not that, don't hear about that anymore.
Oh no! Oh no!
Oh, I can name about 10 things right now that we don't hear about anymore. And nobody follows up on this.
Right. Let's talk about that. Let's make that the end of. Last thing, here's what I think it goes back to again, Bill. The people who are accountable are us. We don't vote in primaries. We don't run in our local elections. We don't run for office. We don't remember the past. Like we're getting ready to talk about a whole bunch of news stories that were a big deal have been completely memory hold, and nobody talks about them anymore, and nobody's pissed off about them anymore.
Yeah.
Right. We have got to start electing the right people or getting involved ourselves, or it's not going to work. It's going to fall apart. Donald Trump is as phenomenal as a president as I truly believe he is. I think he's one of the best in my lifetime. And I had Reagan, right? Like you did. Better than Reagan. Okay. He cannot do it alone. And we're finding that out. And I don't call myself a Republican. I'm not a Republican because the Republican Party is worthless. I'm MAGA, but I'm not Republican.
Yeah.
And think about this, those stories that were memory hold. COVID.
Let's start.
Yeah. Oh, for me, I'm going to start with COVID. It's almost like we've forgotten that they murdered tens of millions of people, wouldn't let us go to school, shut down our businesses, ruin people's lives and careers. You couldn't go to people's funerals.
Selective shut down businesses.
Oh, right. Well, Nancy Pelosi. Yeah, right. Nancy Pelosi get your hair done. Churches were shut down, but casinos weren't. Marijuana dispensaries weren't. Liquor stores weren't. Walmart could stay open, but the corner store had to shut down.
Yep.
I mean, but we have almost like the American, and now we know. I mean, just yesterday, I forget which doctor it was testifying in front of Congress. The Biden administration knew that these shots were killing people with myocarditis, killing them.
And this guy has done a bunch of autopsies.
Yeah.
And found out like 75% of the autopsies he's done could contribute to the vaccine.
Right. Literally hours later, days later, people are dying. Teenagers in their 20s and 30s having massive heart attacks, right? And they knew it was directly related to the vaccine, and they still kept giving it to you. Not only did they tried to make you take it, you lose your damn job.
Yep.
Right? I mean, all this, and it's
couldn't fly.
Right.
That we even had some Congress people were saying that we should put troops at the state borders of the states and make people provide papers so they could travel.
Right. Well, they wanted you to have a vaccine passport and all that. Right. And that's only been 4 or 5 years ago, and it's like the American people have completely forgot it happened to them.
Yep.
I mean, so if they know they can get away with murdering millions of people and doing that to us, and we just forget it, nobody seems to be outraged by it.
I know. Well, it goes back to what we've been talking about, the complicity of it. So here's one for you. This is a minor one, and then I want to get to a bigger one. The barge that was sent over to Israel ended up costing $260 million. It wasn't the 26 million, the Biden administration, $260 million. Nobody's held accountable. They just sent, I don't know how many truckloads of aid into Gaza, and it was all confiscated just recently, and it was all confiscated by
Hamas.
Hamas takes it, and then they turn around and sell it to the people that live there at like 10 or 15 times what it's worth. But we've got to support Hamas because there's genocide going on by the Israelis.
Once again, here's an analogy, right? It's like during World War II saying, a lot of Germans are dying. We should stop and we should feed them and take care of them and then go back to fighting. I mean, that's how absurd this is.
Yeah. So that was my one. The one of the bigger ones, and this was news headlines everywhere. What the hell happened with the story with the drones?
Yeah, it's all of a sudden nobody's talking about these UFOs anymore, right?
Yeah.
Or whatever the hell
they're the size of an RV, and they're over my house, and nobody knows what's going on, and the Pentagon's not talking about it. Blah blah blah.
Totally memory hold.
Yeah, totally memory hold.
J6, what happened to those people? Forgotten, right? Yeah. It's just incredible. Jesse Smollett, what happened to him? Like
remind people who Jesse Smollett is.
Yeah, Jesse Smollett's the actor who was on a TV show, don't even remember what it was, said he was assaulted and attacked in downtown Chicago by two MAGA people that put a rope around his neck and all that stuff. And of course, we find out it's an absolute fabrication, a total lie.
He paid for it. He paid the guys to do it.
Right. There were two brothers from Africa who were physical fitness trainers. So he set the whole thing up so that he could try to get his job back on the TV show and bring some notoriety back to himself. Whatever happened with that? We have
they dropped all the charges.
Of course they did, right?
Yeah. Yep.
What about Letitia James in New York? Fannie Willis in Georgia?
Her boyfriend, Fannie Willis's boyfriend.
Right.
How about the follow up on Bob Menendez's wife? And what about Bob Menendez's son?
Right.
The senator from New Jersey.
It's just incredible, and this list could go on for essentially forever almost.
Yeah.
I mean, the cocaine in the White House, the 2 assassination attempts on Donald Trump.
The assassin that tried to shoot him in Pennsylvania, we don't know anything about that. I'm going to go back a little more in history. Remember the guy that was in the hotel in Las Vegas and shot all them people?
Yeah.
What happened there?
Yeah, and almost everybody knows that was an FBI inside. Everybody knows it. And with all these questions, the bombs that were placed outside the DNC and the RNC, right? Right. We could collect everybody else's data that day so we could go arrest them for J6. But the phone data for the bomber was corrupted and we just couldn't figure out who he was.
Yeah.
I mean, it goes on and on and on. And if this stuff isn't brought to resolution, if we don't find out what happened and people are held accountable, it just erodes the trust we have in our government officials. We've got Dan Bongino, we've got Kash Patel. Pam Bondi is the weakest link in the chain as far as I'm concerned, but better than what we had, of course, right? We've got all these people, and I think many of them were good picks. I would have picked these people.
Yeah.
But what are they doing? Where are they at? Okay, I understand criminal prosecution takes time and effort and you got to do the work, right? I understand that, but they need to keep us appraised because I don't know about you, but I'm a MAGA supporter. I'm a Trump guy, but I'm beginning to lose faith. And if that's what happens, we're lost. I mean, it cannot be fixed because if Trump can't fix it or at least get it well on its way to being fixed, I don't think we can fix it. And I agree. If the Republicans don't do some major about faces, and we don't start seeing some major things happening, it is going to be a bloodbath in the midterms.
Yep. The Democrats will take control, and then you'll see.
Then you'll see some shit happening.
Oh yeah, I mean, next day there'll be hearings. They'll impeach him.
They'll impeach Trump. Absolutely.
They'll impeach Bondi. They'll impeach Kash Patel. They'll impeach the whole entire administration. They'll fabricate stuff. Anybody that dealt with them will be bankrupt. I mean, all the attorneys that represented Trump are all bankrupt or in jail or have served in jail.
This is the deal. Here's what these people better realize. Okay, here's what they better, the Cash Patels, the Dan Bonginos, the Pam Bondis, the entire Trump staff. If we lose the White House in 2028, they all will go to jail.
They will. They will. There was one.
So they better get their heads out of their asses, and and I'm telling you, they better, because if they lose and JD Vance doesn't win, or Marco Rubio or somebody like that, they'll go to jail. They will come after them with a vengeance, and like you said, fabricate. And then I think at that point, I mean, you're going to see almost a complete police state, and you're going to see, you'll see, it'll be chaos.
Yep.
So this is why it's so important. It's just not about today. 4 years from now, 5 years from now, can you just imagine if one of those idiots that the Democrats are going to try to run, and this would turn into, we thought the 4 years of Biden was bad. This will be worse.
Yeah. The other thing about things that's not being reported on, when they do the auto pen, there's supposed to be 5 people that sign off on that. There's no documentation.
Oh, of course there's not.
So
the J6 committee destroyed evidence.
Yeah, I mean, and what about all the FBI agents that were destroying evidence in there? What about, nothing happened to Hillary Clinton? I mean, if you or I had done that and there was going to be a federal investigation and we bleached the servers and we destroyed all the cell phones and everything, we'd still
not only would we be charged with that, we'd be charged with the destruction of evidence. And now the FBI, there were 5,000 agents involved in the J6 investigation, and arresting these people and squatting their homes and all that stuff. The FBI wants to basically make that so nobody will ever know who those agents were.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. They were public officials. We need to know who they are. And if they committed violations of law, they need to go to jail. If you don't put these communists in jail and make them pay a material price for what they did, this will be worse next time.
And the ratcheting up of violence is only going to get worse.
Oh, sure. Sure it is. Over the next 3 years. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, who knows? Summer's just now rolling in. So I bet, are we in for another summer of violence? Because the Democrats certainly are encouraging it every chance they get.
Yeah, you can't listen to any of them talk if they're not calling somebody a fascist, communist, trampling on the Constitution, due process.
Oh, man.
It was kind of funny. I was watching a couple of newscasts and they were interviewing some people on the street in New York. And 5 of the people said, "Oh, Trump's a fascist. He's a fascist." And he goes, "Well, what is a fascist?" They had no idea.
I don't know, but he's one. Right, yeah, exactly.
He's a racist. Well, give me an example of what he's done as a racist. He's the one that bailed out the black colleges.
Sure, he did. The tradition, right.
Like how they have an association, what they call them, H stump.
Right.
And I'm all for that. I'm all for that because some of those institutions have a long history and they have graduated some.
I got nothing against it. Yeah.
No, very prominent people, and they were going to be insolvent.
Right. Well, you go back 20 years, and you got Oprah Winfrey saying Trump should be president. He was every black leader was on his side.
He was man of the year. Man of the year. Here's a picture of him with Jesse Jackson and Al Sharpton at the NAACP Awards. He was like man of the year.
Yeah.
It's just the hypocrisy. But the thing about it is you're fighting Joseph Goebbels with the media. Joseph Goebbels was the Nazi propaganda minister for Hitler. Yeah, what he did is minor to what our press is doing now.
Yeah, he would be proud.
He would be like
he
would be in awe of what they're doing.
Yeah.
So you're fighting Hollywood, you're fighting academia, you're fighting mainstream media, and you're fighting the uneducated public. It's an uphill battle.
Sure.
And the left will always resort to violence. History will show you that. They'll always resort to violence.
Well, calling you the violent one. It is an incredible dichotomy. And I think, folks, the only way we solve this is we have to get actively engaged. We cannot sit on the sidelines anymore. Because I'm telling you, 4 years from now, even people like me and you doing this podcast will be on their hit list.
Yeah, they'll put you on a no-fly list. They have found documentation. That's the other thing. They had Tulsi Gabbard was being followed by U.S. Marshals when she traveled to the point of how many times did she get on her cell phone, blah, blah, blah. No investigation.
Right. She was on the Safe Skies watch list. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Alex Jones, I guess they did when they found out they had a list of all the influential, public figures, Alex Jones and Tucker Carlson and Bill O'Reilly and all those folks and what they were planning to do to them. bankrupt them, arrest them, and charge them, trump up evidence. I mean, because they were influencing people's thought processes. And so this is going to be uglier next time. So if we can't sit back and expect Donald Trump to carry all the water. That's just, it's impossible.
Well, he can't. He can't. He's got to, Congress, and I don't see it happening.
No.
Hopefully I'm surprised, but the Republicans in Congress have got to get their act together and start enacting laws and passing some of this stuff and start making issues out of the stuff that's going on. I can guarantee you, look how the Democrats were all over the guy, Soros or Santos.
Right.
All over that. He needs to go, blah, 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 blah. But I don't see one Republican other than one or two people out of the administration cabinet.
Right. That's not Congress. Those are people in the White House.
But I don't see any congressmen, even the women, standing up and saying, this woman needs to be charged.
Right. She needs to go.
Now there was a congresswoman filed actions to get her kicked out of Congress.
She should be kicked out of Congress.
Yeah, she should be,
But that's not going to go anywhere without.
But it was a woman. It was a woman Republican that filed it.
Well, sure it is. You and I've talked about this many times. The women in our party are, and I'm not even going to call my party anymore because I'm not a Republican. I'm not. They're just worthless, and they always disappoint me.
Yeah, I'm beyond the point of being disappointed with them. I know what we're dealing with. I was listening to a podcast the other day, and it was summed up well. He said, "It's a uniparty."
It is. And that's what I mean. I think it's no longer Republican, Democrat. It's the people against the uniparty. Yeah. And the people have spoken. They want Donald Trump. They want his agenda. But Congress just completely ignores us.
Yep, because Congress could stop what's going on with these district judges.
They could stop all this stuff. They have the purse strings. They can do a lot.
They were even funding the Department of Justice investigations against Trump.
Sure.
They had control of the Congress, but they were still funding it.
Yeah, I remember when Mike Johnson basically said he wasn't, he said he doesn't think it was right, but he's not going to defund it. And here's why they do this, folks. Here's why Congress doesn't listen to us, because they know we just went through a litany of stories that nobody's talking about anymore. They've been memory hold, and the longer they go, the more we forget the actual facts of them. Congress members know 18 months from now, you'll forget what they actually did, and you'll go vote for the same damn people who are screwing you right now.
Yeah, because you recognize the name.
Yes. And that's what's going to stop. That's why primaries are so important. And that's why us getting involved is so important.
Yep. Amen.
So with that, Bill, we'll call it a day.
All right.
Have a great Memorial weekend. And
folks, you see a veteran out there, give them a hug. Don't say thank you. Just say, I appreciate you. Thank you for your family, your support. Can I help you? Just give them a hug.
Right. And even just ask him, tell me about what you did there.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
Like you said, because telling the story, it does help, because the heart procedure I just went through, talking to a friend of mine who had been through one, and you and other people, you get to kind of work it out.
Yeah. I was at a get together the other day, and there was two veterans there. One had served in Korea, and the other one Navy, and the other one's Korea. And I think he was Marines. And I went up to him and I said, "Hey man, my stepdad served in World War II. He was on a destroyer." And I had a 5-minute conversation with these guys.
Right. And they they want to tell their stories. They do want to be acknowledged for what they did.
There's a reason why they're wearing those hats. They're proud,
right, because they want you to acknowledge it. Exactly.
And,
they want
and
you
they're
to know.
And they're proud of what they did.
Sure.
So acknowledgement, and like I said, sometimes just let them talk, and that's therapy for them.
Well, think about this. It's like with Butch, the guy I had breakfast with the other day. He's 77 years old. Mm-hmm. He served in the military 67 and 68 when he was 18, 19, 20 years old. Mm-hmm. So something he did essentially 57 years ago is still for him probably the most important thing he ever did.
Yeah.
Right. That's why he's still wearing the hat.
Very true.
And so, it was a big part of their lives, and it changed who they were and who they became.
And in the prime of their young life.
Right. Exactly.
The people don't realize, but the kids that stormed the beaches of Normandy, their average age was 19.
Yeah.
It's not like what you saw on Saving Private Ryan, where they were all in their
30s 20s. Or whatever. Right. Yeah.
No.
Right.
And they all weren't the age of John Wayne. They were like look at your kids graduating in the graduating class this year at your high school. That's the age of kid.
Yeah, 17, 18, 19-year-old.
Those are the kids that fought Nazi Germany and imperialistic Japan.
Right. And
those are the kids that fought in Korea. Those are the kids that we drafted and forced to go to Vietnam.
Right.
Those are the kids that went to Iraq and everything else, Grenada and everything else.
Right. And many of them didn't get to come back.
Or parts of them are missing.
Right.
You know, some of them are handicapped, but you can't tell it because it's, you know, I've had some of them share stuff with me and I won't even share it with you because I just can't imagine living with what they did.
Oh, I know. Sure.
You know, it's just terrible. So anyway, with that, it's not Happy Memorial Day. It's like, I'm appreciative of Memorial Day. I'm glad that our government has taken this time to recognize the loss because there's a lot of people out there that are going to have this weekend and it's going to bring back a lot of
memories,
of open source. Yeah.
All right. Well, that God bless America, everyone.
That's right.
And we'll see you on Monday.
Yeah, absolutely. Have a good weekend.
Yep. Bye.